At this point in my life, I can really say that I am not the patient type. In fact, when I told myself this truth, I was actually angry at myself because I'm someone that I always want things to happen very fast. Like I make a plan, it has to come to life. I set pace to this thing, it has to happen. I have taken this decision, I need to see the result. I have said this thing, it starts acting up. But I figured that life does not actually work in that manner. In fact, you would be so surprised that the decision you have taken 5 years ago is about to manifest in that full picture you would have wanted. And this is not because you have taken the wrong decision, but because you are not giving yourself the time it required for this decision to come to life. And I was able to bring this idea back into when I'm asking Allah for something, I'm praying for something, when I'm working towards something. Sometimes I feel that this thing is not actually happening. These things are not working. Why is it taking so long? Well, that is because there are some beliefs we need to understand about the way life operates. It is one thing to believe in something, it is another thing to give that thing you believe in the time it required to manifest into your life. And at that point, I could not only tell myself that, Amina, you are getting things wrong. And if you don't begin to choose differently, think differently, act differently, that life you are looking for will never get to you. At the moment I told myself that, I became so furious because why would I be the one standing in my own way that the life I'm looking for will not get? Of course, I can be, and you can be as well. You can be the one standing in your own way because we need to be able to understand that the life we are living in requires a lot of decisions internally and externally. At the long run, I get to understand that the reason I am acting the way I am acting is not actually because I don't believe in myself, or it is not actually because I don't understand that some things can actually come to life. But even with the fact that I believe in myself, there are still some beliefs that are standing in the way for me to actually get better. And because of that, I feel I am always praying, I'm always wishing, I'm working towards something. But I need to understand that there are some beliefs I need to begin to inculcate positively to take me to that life I'm looking for. So, in this video, I want to talk to you about some religious beliefs I am holding on to that has actually helped me become better. And this is coming from a woman that is impatient. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm not the person that have been patient, especially in terms of marriage relationship. But I believe you can relate with me that when you have gone through some major life challenges or life transition, it questions every single part of your existence. And because it questions that, it brings out some part of you that you have not actually been able to work on. And at the long run, if you don't begin to work on this aspect of your life, they eventually begin to create the reality of the life you're looking for. And I talked about in the previous video, I mentioned that is my spiritual awakening after the life chaos and the likes of them, how I'm able to put myself back on track. Through the journey of my awakening, I was able to understand that we need to be able to have some serious conversations with ourselves. And the kind of life we have inside of us will actually create a replica of the kind of life that is ahead of us. So, because of all this, I am able to sit down with myself, which I really want you to do. You need to look within you and see those parts of your life, those aspects of your life you've always been blaming people, blaming situation, blaming pattern, blaming circumstances around you. Why not rewrite the story and look inside of you and see if you're actually the one standing in your own way? So today, it is about religious beliefs, supernatural truths, universal laws I have been able to put together to come up with the religious beliefs I am holding on to. And so far, I've been able to hold on to them. They have been helping me navigate transition, compute, and walk through my life in a manner that things are actually becoming better. And trust me, this is coming from somebody that has actually been patient because of what has happened to her. But I am not acting like a victim of my own circumstance. I am not acting like I am going to become a victim of my own circumstance. I am acting now because I want to be the hero of my own journey. And I'm going to be starting with the very first one, which I was able to understand in a very faint manner, and that is answers to prayer will always have a starting point. Let me tell you, when you are waiting for something, you're praying for something, you're wishing for something, you want to be better, there will always be a starting point. I have a lot of examples I want to state here, but I'm going to give you one that is very important and pertinent. When I left my marriage, then I went to stay with my sister, and I had some debts to settle, which I lasted there for like a year and a half, a year and 6 months or 8 months. And I said I want to get accommodation. I want to get a room and parlor apartment, room and parlor flat, like we call it in Nigeria, room and parlor self-contained. And I was envisioning that I want the living room to be beautiful, the kitchen should be okay, the bedroom. At the end of the day, I was able to get one that is 150,000 naira rent in Ikorodu. For people that are closer to Ikorodu axis or those that know about Nigerian situation, getting a flat of 150,000 naira. Of course, it is child. Of course, it is spacious. Of course, it has a kitchen, toilet, veranda, and it has a compound. But I believe you can relate with me the kind of apartment you would get for 150,000 naira in Lagos. That was what I got. And it is not because I couldn't get better. Yes, I was praying to have a better house, but I was not actually considering what I have in my pocket. I thought the little money I have would give me that beautiful life I am looking for. Immediately, at the snap of my finger, I worked my ass off to be able to put together 300,000 2023 to be able to get accommodation. What am I saying? 2023, 2024 to get accommodation. Yeah, just 2024. I left in 2023. I got accommodation in 2024. And for me to even be able to get accommodation a year plus after, it shows a lot of progress. But I was not looking at my effort so far. I was looking at the final picture. I wanted a good apartment, not this one. But can I afford it? No. That is the starting point of my prayer that is being answered. So many of us, which I have done multiple times, I'm praying for something and I want that thing to come as the final picture. That is not the way life operates. That is not the way things work. If you're a type of person that is always unsettled like myself, when I pray, wish, work for something, I just want everything 100% come to life like that. It won't work like that. And it is one thing I have decided to always tell myself that answers to prayers will always have a starting point, not a final picture. Allah does not give you the harvest immediately, It gives you the seed, the soil, the tools, and the season. You need to be able to put all these things together for them to give you what you're looking for. So, if you're thinking you're working harder, that's beautiful. You're putting in the effort. Of course, that's just what you need. But you won't get everything 100% the way you actually want it to be. So all you have to do is get the starting point and begin to navigate your path. I don't even know what is beautiful. When I got this house, I was thinking, should I leave after 2 years? Should I go? I was contemplating. Then I began to tell myself, why do I want to leave? Why do I want to stay? Because the house is not beautiful, attractive, blah, 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 a whole lot of that. But at the end of the day, I figured that the house is what I actually needed to get to where I am today. And alhamdulillah, so far, I am moving out of the house by the end of July and August to get a better one. And now that I'm going to get a better one, I still tell myself it might not be 100% to be perfect, but I can sure tell myself it will be better than where I'm coming from. And that is how we all navigate our lives, a step at a time, one step forward, one step ahead. And when you look back 10, 15 years, you realize you are far gone. So, answers to prayer will always have a starting point, not a final picture. Those people you have lost in your life, that is just the beginning of something new. You have not even seen the entire picture. So you don't have to be miserable because something does not happen exactly the way you have planned it want it to be. What has happened presently is what you need to get to the next level. So I think that convinced you a bit. Yeah, it sure did for me. And that's beautiful. So the second one, which I also had to learn the hard way for somebody that is not always patient with our life, is that prayer plus effort is the only formula that works. Don't stress yourself. Don't deceive yourself. When I am in school invigilating my learners for examination, they will tell me they want to pray. I said, no problem, you can pray whichever way you want to pray. But you know what I would tell you? If you were praying, believing that your prayer will help you pass this examination, my love, you have failed. If you haven't read anything and you were praying, you think manna would miraculously fall from heaven and inscribe the answers on the wall for you, then you are standing on a long list of failure. I told myself, I am praying. What happens to the efforts? Of course, and this is what thing I think I'm telling myself again. I told myself, I pray during Ramadan, I want to have a better stream of income. And something told me, Amina, you want to have better stream of income. You are teaching in school. Do you think you can teach your way out of a salary that is not even up to 100,000 anymore? That is how bad teaching in school in Nigeria feels like. It is a whole lot of headache for teachers working 7 to 5 or 6 every day and earning not even up to 100,000. I'm not talking about somebody that works for the government. At the end of the day, you can't make your way out to success with a salary paying job. But a salary job is what will help you stabilize your thinking, your feeding for you to be able to work for another money that would help you build that life. Yeah, I preached. What effort am I actually making? I am not treating my coaching business like a business. I'm treating it like a hobby. Fine, I'm lamenting this is still happening. What effort have I actually been making? So it reached a point where I stopped praying hopeless prayers. Oh my God. I stopped giving myself hopeless. Do you know, there are times that you sit back and look at yourself and you be like, Amina, did I actually do that? Oh, you're so stupid. Not that you're stupid in that manner, but you look at yourself like, are you a dummy? You think it will happen without you actually putting in the effort, and that's just the reality. So it is one thing to pray, it is another thing to actually put in the effort it requires. So dua invites blessing, but action activates those blessings. Hear me again. Dua invites blessing. Action activates those blessings. So you need to understand that if you're looking for a way to become better, just like I told myself, I can't be doing lesson and lesson, exchanging more hours for a token. So I think I should begin to put in the effort into my coaching. So 2026, I told myself I'm going to be posting consistently on my YouTube at least one video per week. Though my shorts and reels are giving me issues because I'm not actually let me say, I've been trying to make myself better in recording short form content. And that is because I don't just want to record based on something as waiting point for me. I always like to sit down, think about something from my head, and put it down. Even if I'm going to be using Google search or AI or Gemini will just be probably a fraction of the whole idea. It has to be my idea. I want my idea to be 99%. But I'm still struggling with making short. So it is making my short or my reel a kind of a foggy and unclear. But for the YouTube long form videos, go through my channel and be posting every single week. Even with the fact that I don't have the views, I don't have the numbers yet, I have told myself it has to come. And so I don't have to wait for people to come to me. I will bring myself to them by running hard, by using free training, freebies, and build the community. And I figured there was a time I was praying for more stream of income, and something told me build a community, and that's what I'm trying to do now. My Telegram channel has up to like 12 people as at now, which I believe by the end of this year, I am working towards 1,000. And for my YouTube, I am also working towards 1,000. And for my Instagram, I'm working towards 1,000 or even more. At the end of the day, I figured that when you are praying and you don't make the effort, nothing will come to light. And since I've been putting in the effort, one way or the other, I've been seeing changes. Even if the changes does not mean that it's better and far from where I'm coming from. So I cannot pray for peace and stay where peace is constantly attacked. You cannot pray for changes and still keep repeating the same habits, the same pattern, the same sequence of your life. So when you pray, you need to put in the action. The job you are doing does not serve you. Look for a better one or find a side also or go into investment or do something differently other than what you've always been doing. And if you feel you are actually interested in what you're doing, find different ways to make that thing bigger than the way it is. And I think that's just the way to it. You can't just keep praying without actually taking action. So prayer invites blessing, while action activates the blessing too. Also, this is another religious belief I am holding on to, which is actually like an extension of the first one, and that is prayers will not be answered exactly the way you imagined it to be. I know there are days I would sit back in my house and I would look into my future and tell myself, in the next 2 years, I'm going to be quitting school to change. I remember, and I'm going to be having my own business. But this is 2026. I am still teaching in school. But you know what actually happened? Of course, my prayers were answered because I have started my coaching business and I have been able to get gadgets to record my content. I have a phone stand. I have I don't have a camera, but I bought a new phone and my old phone serves as my camera. And I also have a laptop, which is an investment for business. I have not left the school to change job, and presently I'm saving up for my rent. You know, sometimes we always think that when we pray for something, it has to be exactly the way it will come to life. But prayers will not be answered exactly the way we want it to happen. As at last term, I was contemplating if I should still remain in the school to change job. And I figured that the school teaching job has always been helping me fund my basic lifestyle. And I've been able to save up a whole lot of things from the school teaching job. So it shows that I need it, even the fact that I hate it because I don't have a certificate. I hear so much from officials from educational background. As a teacher that does not have a qualification teaching in school is a whole lot of mess for me. But at the end of the day, I figured that the prayer I'm actually praying or wishing or hoping for is not coming to life exactly the way I want it to be, but the way it is presently is what I need. So that's the way the prayer has answered for you. You might be thinking it's not what you imagine it to be, but I can guarantee you, I can tell you, trust me, it is exactly what you need. Even though you're not comfortable with it, even though you are still struggling to accept that that part of you is in existence, but that is actually what you need. You know, we always think that that thing we have, what we have envisioned, we have a script to our life, we have that notion to the way things should happen. You know, Allah says everything and is the master planner. Just like the saying that man propose, God dispose. So you might be thinking that plan you have for you, just like I have planned my coaching business to the end of this year. I have the figures in place, I have the numbers, I have the assertion that this is what I envision it to be. But at this point, I have been able to convince myself that even if my prayer does not get answered the way I want it, whatever it turned out to be is what I actually. And the fourth religious beliefs I have been able to hold on to that it has been working for me, and it is just one thing you don't want to do away with is that create personal rituals to connect with Allah, with yourself, and the universe. Create personal rituals to connect yourself with Allah, yourself, and the universe. You see, I have mentioned in the previous video I shared last week, and that is spiritual awakening. There is nothing about life when you don't become intimate when you don't become intentional and when you don't get personal with the life within you. And the life actually starts from acknowledging the existence of the supernatural being. You see, there are things you can actually do, there are things you can do that will help you change your life. You need to be able to create some personal rituals, things you do on daily, on weekly, on monthly basis, and you'll be so surprised that your life will begin to turn around. As an example, every quarter of the year, I always observe a Nawafil ritual for myself. My business, the first one I do, the first quarter of the year is personal, myself. The second quarter is my business. Third quarter is relationship, my family, my children. And the fourth quarter is, should I call it connection? Because one way or the other, whoever you are connected to, connected with, whoever you get to meet, can be a major factor to the kind of person you will become and the kind of opportunities you are bound to get or to have. So I always try and make sure that I have I have these things in check. So what I do is that I fast, and on Sunday morning I make it 3 days consecutively. For the 3 days, either I fast for the 3 days or I make it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is falling on my weekend. So I observe Tahajjud, I recite some chapters of the Quran, I have some wordings of notes. I think one day I'm going to be talking about this ritual I do on this channel to work with and to work for some people that might be interested, because the channel is actually is also about spirituality and universal. So because of that, it is something I can actually talk about. And subsequently, I hope I will have people that would have interest in that. So I do that for the 3 days. I have some recitations I do. I recite the Quran. I give harms in food, in money, in items like clothing. And because of that, I figure that my life begins to get better because it's more like I am committed to it. Every quarter of the year, it is what I do. And I promise Allah Azza wa Jalla that if I'm able to see growth, success in these things, I am going to make it better, either by giving out alms in bigger portions or by helping people in bigger portions. I'm going to be increasing the way I do it every year once I begin to see changes. And Alhamdulillah, I am seeing changes. It might not be much, but for me to still be standing here, able to get my gadgets, put money together, still for my school to change up. Can you say that what you have within you is already what you need to create the life you're looking for? The school teaching job I hate so bad is how I'm able to put money together to get this gadget. So I figured that these rituals actually helped. They are working and they are actually helping me. So it is not going to be a copied one, it's not going to be a first one, it's not going to be one that you have to be so robotic about. It has to be deeply yours. It has to be something you know you are intentional to do. It has to be something you know you can continue with, and you have to be intentional about it. So it might be you waking up in the morning, observing Tahajjud before Fajr, or it might also be on Friday when you attend Jumu'ah, the little hours before the Jumu'ah, to have some rituals, you have some meditations, or it might be you helping house people on weekly basis. It might be you reading a chapter of the Quran on weekly, daily, monthly basis. You know, any ritual you feel that you can always do to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will connect you to Him, that will also connect you to the universe. And one of the things I also do is that I like sitting alone. When I want to walk, I like excusing myself from the noise outside. So I would just prefer to sit on my own and think. And I feel that when I'm on my own, I do have a lot of things coming to my head. So this is one strong religious belief I don't want you to do away with, and I can guarantee you, trust me, it works. All you have to do is be mindful and intentional. So these rituals actually anchored me. They softened me and they begin to give me clarity. In fact, it gets to a point that it helps me regulate my system because when I'm fasting, I'm praying for something. I always want to be in a calm state, convincing myself that what I'm actually looking for is actually coming to me at the required time. And every quarter, I feel like I am being anchored by something. Every quarter of the year, I feel that I have started this quarter with beautiful intention. So even if I have any other thoughts outside the thought I started with, I know it is not just a diversification. It is a kind of, realignment to actually even do better than what I've actually imagined it to be. So create a personal ritual to connect you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to connect you with yourself, and to also connect you to the universe. It is very important. And it is one religious belief I do not ever joke with. Also, this one is an extension of the point I talked about on the first and second point, and it's also an extension of the, the closing part of the video I shared on spiritual awakening, and that is patience with Allah's decree because He knows best. Patience with Allah's decree because He knows best. And just like I started this video, I'm this person that is always finding it difficult to be patient in situation. And I've always been praying for perseverance, contentment of the heart, patience, and gratitude. But I figured that this one is still shaping me. I swear to God Almighty. I'm still finding it. I don't want to say I'm finding it difficult. I'm still finding my way in understanding this. Patience is not passive. It is not just about accepting anything. It is swallowing pain silently. It is you understanding that the wisdom behind what you are doing, you might not actually understand immediately. And patience is surrendering without feeling defeated. It is you understanding that that life you're looking for is not out of reach. You might not just be there yet. It is you understanding that what has happened to you, you might think it is painful, but it is actually a part of you that needs to be brought out to the open. And if it does not reveal itself to you, you won't be able to understand how to navigate that path. Patience is understanding that those things that has happened to you, those men that might have hurt you, those situations that might have questioned your existence, and these people involved did not actually come back to apologize to even acknowledge their effort. It is you understanding that it is not meant for you in the first place. And if you keep holding on to them, they are going to keep holding you back. It is you accepting an apology later you never received. So, as a single mother, I have tasted frustration, I have tasted loneliness, exhaustion, a lot of talks, a lot of resentment, a lot of disappointment, heartbreak. But I've also learned that there is provision from Allah, there is divine help from the supernatural, there is there is anchor, there is guidance. I don't have to go through so much difficulty to gain clarity. I can always choose to let go of the things that are giving me chaos just for me to be able to attain that peace inside. So, what breaks you today might shape you tomorrow. Not even might. What breaks you today will shape you tomorrow. And Allah's decree is always unfolding for your own good, even when it hurts. You need to understand that you need to be patient through your journey. And at this point, I was then praying for contentment of the heart, perseverance, and patience. Contentment of the heart does not mean I am accepting to settle, I am accepting to build. Perseverance means when things get really difficult, let me be able to endure. Patience means let me be able to give up the time it required for a season to pass. And I think I actually want to chip in two or more based on research. And I figured it is actually some beliefs that I help me have a spiritual with me. And nothing in my life is actually random. Everything is meant for a purpose. Even every heartbreak, every delay is actually a blessing in disguise. And hardships are messages, not punishment. There are parts of us that needs to be awakened if we hadn't gone through those hardships. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't experienced the failure in my marriage 7 to 8 years. And I don't think I would ever imagine that I can create a life out of what has happened to me. So if that hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't be able to speak to women like myself from the deepest part of myself. So it shows that hardships and messages, they are not just punishment. They are just trying to bring out some part of you you have not been able to acknowledge. Destiny cannot be taken away from you. What is meant for you will actually be meant for you, but you have to be willing to put in the effort to make sure those things get to you. And lastly, healing is a form of worship. I have begun to understand that, you see, when you are being faced with hardship, a lot of issue, it is an act of worship. And one way or the other, we are going to be given a portion of charity in that name. So you don't have to say that those pain you're going through, Allah sees them all. And because He sees them all, He is using them as a yardstick for something else that you should have been judged on or judged about. So healing is an act of worship because by the time you begin to set boundary, you begin to want to do better, you begin to not act on impulse, you begin to do things differently. It's an act of you worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nothing as beautiful as living your days, living your life as regards to the notion of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you just have to understand that healing is an act of worship. It's a way of you pleasing Allah and doing good by your creator. So if you're watching this, I want you to understand that sometimes we need to be able to look at things through the lens of others. And as much as I'm not a fan of just listening to random sayings about things, I figure that if we can only give ourselves the opportunity to rewrite the story we've always been telling ourselves, we realize that there is so much that is bound to happen to us. And like I have been able to convince myself that so many of the things I've been doing, they are not just random. They are ways for me to do better. But if I'm able to give myself the time it's required, if I'm able to understand the basics, if I'm able to use the religious belief to anchor most of my thoughts, my actions, I can actually begin to live a better life. And alhamdulillah, so far, it has been different. Understanding this belief has given me a whole lot of settled mindset to be able to understand that the life I'm looking for is what I can actually get, but it has to be a starting point. And I hope you were able to use this notions to gain clarity on how you can begin to understand life through the lens of religious beliefs. In my next video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I'm able to get my life on track. I have been able to make this video last year, but I figured that there are some things I did not actually talk about that I'm willing to share with you. And I'm going to see you in my next one. Bye.